These things are very, very well cooked. What is up, you guys? Today's video, we're gonna be installing the new old valves into my heads, cleaning up the heads, getting the heads all prepped, and then also we're going to be going over what is actually happening with the block. The new block I got, all the parts that are going into it, how the motor is actually going to turn out, and what my end goal is for this motor. Got all the parts right here. If you haven't seen them already, we'll go over them in this video, get everything squared away for you guys. So stick around to the end of the video and I'll go over the entire build process of what we got planned this go around. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with cleaning these valves up. I have my drill right here with my little wire brush. We're gonna be using the wire brush to clean off all the coating that are on the valves right now. Obviously these valves have been sitting around for a very long time. Hopefully they are in fact straight. They appear to be straight. I don't think that motor bent any valves at any point. We're gonna lap them into the heads so that we make sure that they get 100% seal on the valve seat. But first, we gotta start with cleaning these things up. This is the only wire brush I have, unfortunately. I don't have a bench grinder, surprisingly. But in the near future, I'm definitely gonna get one because that is, at the very least, a necessity. So, let's start with cleaning these things up. Got these guys, which just need a little bit of cleaning. Clean that up. Hit it with the wire brush. Yeah, this is definitely gonna take some time. Here we go, good as new, almost. It's like it wasn't sitting in a motor for years. So, you have old one, new one, right? Right. You get the general idea. Basically what I'm doing is I'm cleaning off the valve back side, any coating, seeing the valve seat where it's machined, seeing if there's any deep pockets or anything in that. And then I'm removing all of the carbon off of the face of it. So I'm pretty much gonna repeat the same steps I did on this one with the rest of them, and then we're gonna put them in the head, and we'll get to valve lapping and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna put you on a time lapse here. Now that these are all done, I'm just gonna go through. If you look, they came out very nice. I mean, this looks like a brand new valve already, well, except for all this like heat, burn, whatever. I don't even know what this is. Probably coating in the metal from just being out over the years. So basically just gonna go through them, go over them one more time, clean them up, make sure there's no more, I don't know, soot, carbon will build up or anything like that on them. And then we're gonna start to lapping them. And if you didn't watch the last video, the stamping EG on these valves means that they are the updated version for the VG30 valves. The older ones were a little bit softer and they ran into problems with pitting, I guess, where the valve seats line up, and they lose compression over time from the heat. So they updated the valves to the ones that say EG. The old ones are 30P. Basically, if it says EG, you're good. If it's 30, you got the soft valves. Sorry about your luck. Okay, so to check valve guide clearance, if you guys remember, at one point in time, I had an issue where my valve kissed the piston because I did not check the valve guide clearance when installing aftermarket valves. The valve stems are actually minutely a little bit larger with aftermarket valves. Even though this is an OEM valve, it should theoretically be the exact same size as my factory valves. I'm still going to check this regardless. Being an intake valve, I'm fairly certain that the valve guide clearance should be about 0.002 and 0.004 clearance. So with this, we will take the diameter of this and subtract the diameter of this from the diameter of the valve guide in there. 5.47 there. I'm gonna check in a couple spots here. 5.47 there. Now let's go up to here where this marking is here. And that's also about 5.47. So now I want this ultimately to be right at 6 millimeters. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ball gauge, I'm gonna stuff it in there. We're gonna spread it apart until it binds up. And then I want it to be able to move nice and smoothly. Let me get you set up. I'm just gonna take it and measure it right here. And we should get roughly 6 millimeters. So we're right at 6 millimeters, which is perfect. Now I'm gonna continue on and do this for the rest of them. And just to make sure, I wanna make sure all the valves are good. There could also be a valve guide that is bent as well. So I wanna make sure they are all straight and ready to go for the new valves. Let's check this one. That one feels tight. That one feels tight. That one feels tight. That one. They all feel about the same. Now typically, when you get to these higher horsepower motors, you want a little bit more clearance because they're gonna be putting out a lot more heat. So more heat, you want more clearance because that metal is going to expand. Just like your piston rings, once you get higher power, you want them piston ring gaps a little bit fatter. If they're too tight, they'll butt up and then you'll end up with broken ring lands like all the Subaru guys. I can talk crap about the Subarus because I got one of them too. I gotta give them props. The consistency of these valves are pretty incredible. Okay, so now that I've checked the valve guide clearance on all my valves, I'm gonna go ahead and take these and push them in and out and make sure they run really smoothly in and out of each valve guide, because if there's any kind of binding, I probably have a bent valve guide, which is definitely no bueno. They don't open up too much, so fortunately I don't have to move that far. Okay, I guess it's high time to take off this head gasket. Let's see how nicely this comes off. Look at that. It's reusable. It still has a copper spray on it in some spots. That's incredible. These OEM head gaskets are magic, y'all. All right. Okay, so you guys have probably seen me do valve lapping before, but essentially all I'm doing is taking a compound that has a little bit of a gritty substance to it, and you just take the compound and put a little dab. Oop, that was a lot. That was way too much. Okay, so don't do that much. But you basically take a little bit, put it around the edge of the valve. That is way too much. Take the valve, put it in the valve guide, push it down, put the valve in there like so. You just take your suction cup, just go to town with it. Sometimes these can be a pain. You just pick up the valve every once in a while, rotate it about 180 or 90 degrees out. And all we're doing is basically using the valve seat as a sander to the valve angle or edge of the valve, whatever you want to call it. That way they match up in harmony. All right, so now take this off, suction cup off, go around the valve. If you look very closely, you should have a nice gray haze to it, because it's basically like, imagine wet sanding a car. You're wet sanding paint, so the paint's not going to have a polished finish to it. That's kind of what you're doing to the valve seat here. You're sanding it down with the compound, and that compound should leave kind of a gray haze to it. And if it's equal amount of gray all the way around, that means it'll have a good seal. which this one looks very, very good. Yeah, if you look really closely, you can see there's a light gray line all the way around it, and it's very even. This one came out perfect. I'm super happy with the way this one looks. Okay, next head, ready to go. Head gasket off. Scrape it down, clean it up. Same thing as the other head, pretty much rinse and repeat. Yep. Check here real quick. See what we got. 6.01, 6.02. And if memory serves me correct, I already checked over all the valves. Yeah, I did. If you listen really closely as I'm grinding the valve, you can actually hear it go from a really gritty texture to a really smooth sound. Hear that? There we go. That should be good. That looks pretty well good. Let's go ahead and carry on with the rest of them. And hopefully, after this is all done, we can flip it over and start installing the valves. Another very important note is if you look way down in there, you can see a little tiny washer that sits at the very bottom of the spring. So if you're doing what I'm doing and flipping the head over and everything else, double check that that washer is still in the very bottom of it before you put the valve springs in. With all that said, let's go ahead and start installing the valves. Okay, valves are all lapped. I'm going to install them. They look good. Actually, don't forget to coat them in a little bit of oil. So I'm gonna grab some oil from over here on the table because there's plenty of it. Do that. Shove this up through here. All right, so now do this. One there. All right, first one's done. 11 more to go. So the other way of doing this is find your top side, which is the fatter side. See, this side's a little bit thinner than this side. And then just put it in the retainer like so. And put the other half in like so. And theoretically, it should fold right around the valve. So we're gonna try it like this. To be honest, I don't think I've ever tried it like this. Maybe I have, I don't remember. But we're trying this here together. Move you back a little bit so you're not bouncing with the table. Guess I need to get a valve in there first. Now, should be able to tighten this, hold the valve up. That's weird. So the valve keeper's just sat right on top of the valve almost perfectly. Hold on, let me try something. That didn't work as planned. All right, now I just unscrew this. Close. There we go. Honestly, it's not too bad. Okay, one cylinder head is done. Let's throw on the new cylinder head, finish up these valves. We got 6 more to do here. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for the heads for now. The new valves are in, both heads, all the valve springs and keepers are in, they're all set in place. They're not going anywhere. The next time you see these, they should be coming back from the machine shop and I'll be installing the cam caps, the cams, the lifters, all that stuff. But first, before I do any of that, I am going to send the heads off to a machine shop this time to get them flattened and decked appropriately, because this go around, I want to foolproof the entire thing. I don't want to take any chances. Pretty much, the only difference is that this time I'm using the machine shop. The last time I did not use a machine shop. So I got to do a couple of things a little bit differently, and the videos might take a little bit longer because I'm using a machine shop. I do not have control over their schedule, and I'm not really the pushy type of person. I know I promised at the beginning of this video that I will go over the bottom end. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay guys, as promised in the beginning of this video, I said I was going to show you the details and everything I got going into the new bottom end for the fresh motor. Because as you know, this motor over here, it's done. I have a spare motor, which I'm going to be bringing out here probably in the next week or so to be breaking down, pulling apart, transferring the few little things I need to off of this motor onto that motor and making sure it's ready to go to the machine shop. But for the internals of it, I have a set of 87.5mm CP pistons. The reason I went with these over like a Wiseco is just, well, I've heard really great things about these. I've never actually used them. And also, instead of the basic wrist pins, which I have here, I went ahead and upgraded to a little bit beefier of a wristband. I'm not sure if you can really tell the difference in the video, but basically the one on the right is the upgraded one, and it's a little bit thicker, but also the material is stronger as well. And then next up, we've got a set of, I'm just gonna show you the box. Well, you know what, I'll show you the rods. These are Molnar rods. Basically, this guy is known for doing a lot of small block Chevy stuff over the years. And he is like pretty much tried and true. He has a hand in everything from start to finish. Tom Molnar is his name. These are the exact same rods that Devil Z has in his car. But anyways, he's running low 8s on these rods, making 1,300 horsepower, so that should be plenty for me and what I'm capable of. Next up, this is the biggest, most important part, I would say. Got MazWorks main caps. I've been waiting on these. They've been on back order, pre-order, whatever you want to call them. Basically, I was waiting for them to get the batch made, and this is it. So, finally have a set of MazWorks billet main caps for myself. I am very excited about that. These are the 2-bolt main caps with the girdle system. I know there's a 4th bolt there, but that 4th bolt is just for the girdle, which goes around. I'm not really a firm believer in the 4-bolt main caps for these motors. And essentially what happens is when you drill out the block for the 4th bolt, there's not enough meat, let's say, in the main cap area for the bolts to actually grab hold of, and it could in turn weaken the block. At least that's my thought process on anyways. I haven't seen any issues with the 4-bolt main caps, but at the same time, I haven't seen anybody successfully running the 4-bolt main caps with these motors. I know it's transferable from another motor. The application is still there as far as, you know, oh, Chevy small blocks run 6-bolt main caps. They have 4-bolt main caps, whatever. It's not really relevant here because of the amount of meat that is missing from the main caps of this motor, which I'll show you real quick. Okay, so if you look right here on this one, this is where the 4th bolt, well, 3rd and 4th bolts go on this motor. And honestly, if you look down here, look at that little cavity right there. Same thing right here, cavity, cavity. It's all throughout. So if you drill this out, yeah, there's some strength right in here, but down here, there's not really anything there. To be honest, it might very well be more inwards. I think I've heard that they have redesigned them such that they are farther inwards to get a little bit more meat around the threads. But by the time you drill the hole, thread it out, run the smaller bolt down in there, I don't think it's worth it. And the fact that we have a few guys running 2-bolt main caps upwards of 1,400 horsepower on these motors, and they've been working perfectly fine, I think that's good enough for me. The big catch here is something I don't have with me today. It's something that my machine shop is going to order and get set up for me, is the cylinder walls. I am actually going to sleeve a block. The reason I'm doing that is because once you start making upwards of 1,000 horsepower, 800 foot-pounds of torque, which means that I'm going to be on a manual transmission also, not a TH400 or an automatic. A lot of the shock that goes through the wheels and transmission is also going to be sent through the motor. So there's going to be a lot of hard, harsh forces on the motor as well. And I don't want to take any chances. I've actually seen multiple people split the cylinder, mainly the number 3 and 4 cylinders at around 800 foot-pounds of torque. And that's revving 8,500 RPM. Once you split that cylinder wall, it's pretty much done anyway. So just to go ahead and eliminate that factor altogether, we're gonna go ahead and sleeve the cylinder walls. And we got the billet main caps going in, and then this stuff should be pretty straight. I am going to use the factory VG30 crank. It should be perfectly fine, perfectly capable of this. And for anybody that says, oh, but you just split a VG30 crank, like that was a pure anomaly. And I think the only reason that the crankshaft split was because of the way that the main caps were shifting and fretting on the block. Also, I think the primary reason that these were fretting was due to a poorly balanced rotating assembly. I don't think I've ever shown this on camera before, but I just noticed this, well, as I was putting the pistons away, literally. So when they go to balance the rotating assembly, they have to take away metal, right? Well, on the bottom of the pistons, they drill it out. And if you look here, there's a little dimple there, a little dimple there. Whoop, they're falling over. But then we get to this one. Wait a second. Something's different about this one. Why does this one have all these holes drilled in it? Honestly, when I was assembling the motor, that should have been a massive red flag. I didn't catch it, but I think there's something really off with that particular cylinder, rod and piston combo. And I don't know. I don't know the details. I haven't actually put them on a weight scale or anything like that myself. Should be very interesting. I should try to do that one of these days. But yeah, something was very odd about that, and I didn't catch it till I was putting them away. So that right there is a huge red flag and a #1 indicator that something may have been very poorly balanced at some point with this rotating assembly I have here. But anyways, that's for another day. But anyways, you guys, I think that's gonna do it for this video. I really hope you all enjoyed this one. If you ever want to redo your heads, go for it. It's really not that bad. As long as you have the right tools and the patience, it's gonna take some time. It can be a little frustrating. It is tedious. But once you get the hang of it and you get the ball rolling, just take a day, sit down and do one head, and then spend another day, take your time and do the other head. But anyways, y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you smash that like and subscribe button for me. If you're not subscribed already, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next time.